Good evening. In journalism, there comes a time when the reporter becomes the story. It is not always a comfortable place to be. Last week, we presented an experiment, an attempt to use artificial intelligence to imagine conversations among history's great figures about the questions of our own time. The response raised another question, not, what did history think of today's events? But, what would history think of this? So tonight, History reviews Postlogue. Our guests require little introduction. Nevertheless, good manners and good broadcasting require one. Professor Marshall McLuhan, teacher, author, and perhaps the 20th century's most influential student of communication. He reminded us that every new medium changes not merely what we communicate, but how we think. Good evening, Professor. Steve Jobs, entrepreneur, designer, co-founder of Apple. He believed technology alone was never enough. Only when technology met the liberal arts did innovation become transformative. Welcome, Fred Friendly, producer, journalist, longtime collaborator of Edward R. Murrow. He helped redefine television journalism by insisting that difficult questions deserve thoughtful conversation rather than spectacle. Good evening, Fred. And finally, Walt Disney, storyteller, animator, producer. He spent a lifetime convincing generations that imagination may be civilization's greatest renewable resource. Mr. Disney, thank you for joining us. Gentlemen, you've seen our first attempt. Professor McLuhan, I suspect the obvious question is not the correct one. So let me ask another. What have we actually built?
Nothing. At least, nothing finished. You believe you've built a television program. I believe you've begun inventing a new medium. Television delivered images. Books delivered ideas. Computers delivered information. You are experimenting with something else. Dialogue across time. If history becomes conversational, education changes. Memory changes. Authority changes. The interesting question is no longer what people watch, but whom they invite into the conversation.
Steve, Marshall believes this is a new medium. Do you?
No, not yet. Right now, it's an impressive demonstration. That's not the same thing. People don't fall in love with demonstrations. They fall in love with experiences. The audience shouldn't leave saying, that AI was amazing. They should leave saying, I never imagined history could feel that alive. When the technology disappears, the product begins.
Technology always disappears. That's the definition of a successful medium.
Only if someone obsesses over every unnecessary detail until it does.
Fred, you've produced thousands of hours of television. What do you see?
Potential and restraint. Too much restraint. History wasn't polite. Lincoln interrupted Douglas. Churchill interrupted everyone. Napoleon didn't wait to be recognized by the moderator. You have assembled extraordinary minds. Now let them collide. Ideas become memorable only when tested. Television lives in tension, not agreement.
Exactly. Conflict is interface.
No, conflict is curiosity. The audience leans forward because they don't know what happens next.
Mr. Disney, everyone else seems focused on adults. You aren't. Why?
Because civilization survives one generation at a time. Suppose a 12-year-old watches Napoleon disagree with Sun Tzu and asks, Dad, who's Sun Tzu? You haven't made entertainment. You've opened a door. History should never feel like homework. It should feel like exploration. Wonder is the shortest distance between curiosity and learning.
Professor, Steve speaks of experience. Fred speaks of conflict. Walt speaks of wonder. Can all three coexist?
They must. A medium succeeds when it changes behavior, not opinion. Books taught us to think privately. Television taught us to experience events simultaneously. Your experiment teaches something different. It invites humanity to converse with itself.
Steve, if you were advising the creators, what would you tell them tomorrow morning?
Throw away 20%. Simplify another 20. Then ask yourselves one question. What remains unforgettable? Build that. Everything else is decoration.
Fred?
Write fewer speeches. Write better questions. The audience should leave arguing with one another, not agreeing with you.
Mr. Disney?
Remember families, remember teachers, remember children. If they become curious, you've succeeded. If they merely become informed, you've only begun.
Professor McLuhan, your final thought.
You have not invented artificial intelligence, nor historical fiction, nor television. You are asking whether civilization can converse with its own memory. If the answer is yes, then this medium will not replace books, or television, or classrooms. It will connect them.
One final question. Would you build it?
Without hesitation.
Yes, but I'd rebuild it every week.
Only if criticism becomes part of the program.
I'd build it because every generation deserves new ways to meet the old ones.
Good journalism rarely begins with certainty. Neither does meaningful invention. Tonight our guests agreed on remarkably little. Steve Jobs challenged the design. Fred Friendly challenged the storytelling. Walt Disney challenged the imagination. Marshall McLuhan challenged the very definition of the medium itself. Yet beneath those disagreements, I heard 4 points of agreement. First, technology is never the destination, only the vehicle. Second, history must become conversation, not recital. Third, every episode should leave the audience with better questions than answers. And finally, if this experiment succeeds, its greatest contribution may not be teaching us what history thought. It may be teaching us how to think with history. For Postlogue, I'm Walter Cronkite. Good night.